So when thinking of grandiose manga and anime narratives, Dragon Ball is not usually the first series to appear in my mind. Dragon Ball is definitely not some sort of social commentary or deconstruction, and at its core it's very simplistic. You got a bunch of strong people and a bunch of villains who want to kill everything and they duke it out, heroes win, all's well. It seems pretty standard, in fact it is, but it's fascinating to see what Toriyama and Toei are able to pull off within the simple bounds of the series' core concept. Today I want to talk about Dragon Ball Super specifically, and how it has been building something very interesting. It isn't a groundbreaking work of art, but Dragon Ball Super has been doing something really cool with the very power-centric world that it takes place in. And that's how the gods gradually grow more aware and even fearful of mortals throughout the show. So the primary aspect that sets Super apart from the previous Dragon Ball series is the interactions between the main characters and the divine beings of the Dragon Ball world. So Dragon Ball had a few forays into the world of the gods in Dragon Ball Z, such as Goku going to heaven and meeting King Kai on his planet, Gohan training with Elder Kai, and although ultimately pointless, the Buu arc provided the first direct intervention on the part of the divine beings against things going on in the mortal realm. But those were all the tip of the iceberg that led up to the events of Super. The events of Z attracted the attention of the Universe 7 god of destruction, Beerus, and subsequently his angel attendant Whis. Beerus seems to be pretty casual about it. It seems nothing more than a passing interest to him, until things got rough on Earth. Now even before the arrival of Goku, despite only Vegeta knowing that Beerus was the god of destruction, a few other things can be noted in regards to how Beerus is treated. He has a good time for the most part at Bulma's birthday party, but Beerus received his first act of defiance in the form of a newly reformed Majin Buu who refused to share his pudding. Now this seems silly, but Beerus, who's so used to being feared and revered and getting whatever he wants, is essentially told to go away by a mortal. He dispatches Buu and a lot of the others super easily, but the next major act of defiance is when he's slapped across the face by Bulma. This is, again, something you can imagine Beerus is not used to. A human that he can kill with minimal effort just slapped him across the face as if he was a defiant child. We know this doesn't hurt Beerus in the slightest, but the fact that he felt compelled to hit Bulma back, in my opinion, speaks volumes of how this affected Beerus psychologically. An entire lifetime of being treated as an untouchable, undefiable figure is completely negated by a powerless human who slapped him across the face. Now maybe I'm overthinking this, but I think it's this simple act of defiance, especially in the form of a slap to the face, as if reprimanding Beerus for bad behavior, that I think got to Beerus in that situation, and not the fact that he was hit. If it was, say, a kick to the shin or a punch to the gut, I don't think he would have reacted like that, and I'm pretty sure Beerus is smart enough to know that Bulma is the least potent threat of all the people at the party. Beerus' next reality check is when he's briefly pushed back by an enraged Vegeta after striking Bulma back. This is made even more impactful by the fact that Vegeta is the one guy that knows about Beerus' position, yet he attacked him full force and had Beerus briefly on the back foot. Beerus managed to regain his composure until Goku arrived, but Vegeta's rage moment at Bulma's party was the first successful attack on a divine being by a mortal in the whole series, and set the tone for an increasing sense of danger between mortals and divine beings. He then witnessed Goku successfully pull off the Super Saiyan God ritual and experienced firsthand the potential of Goku's power in Super Saiyan God form. Beerus was holding back, but he took an interest in Goku's power, and instead of killing Goku and wiping out Earth, which he definitely could have done, since what happened was so unusual for him, I think he wanted to see how far Goku's power can really go. So him and Whis took Goku and Vegeta in as students, and I can imagine in some people's eyes, especially a lot of other gods, that was a fatal mistake by Beerus and Whis. Beerus and Whis were much less directly involved in the next two arcs, but they witnessed several shocking revelations and were once again alerted to the power and cunning of mortals. Whis and Beerus saw Frieza come back in a new form, as well as Goku and Vegeta utilize their new Super Saiyan Blue abilities. Then when Champa and Beerus set up their tournament, what essentially began as a spat between two bratty brothers exploiting the people of their universe to fight for them for no reason, turned to a display of mortal power, intelligence, and even mortal deception. So despite Piccolo being outmatched by Frost, he utilized a smart strategy to even the odds. But unfortunately that was undermined by Frost's cheating tactics with his poison needles. Goku, who's one of the strongest upcoming fighters in the universe, was beaten by Frost's poison needles, and if it wasn't a tournament being watched by several people, who knows the extent of what Frost could have done in that situation. But by the time Vegeta came in, the jig was up and he quickly got Frost out of there. However, everyone then witnessed the serious potential within Cabba after Vegeta managed to get him to turn Super Saiyan. So Cabba being a Super Saiyan at such a young age is a sign that he could become an extremely powerful warrior in the future. Then Hit's incredible powers were on display to the shock of basically everyone, only for Goku to pass his own limits by going Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. And Hit also showed potential to get stronger as well. This series of events seemed to get Beerus visibly shaken up, albeit briefly. So in the span of these two arcs, the gods and angels of Universes 6 and 7 saw strategic planning to compensate for a lack of strength, a complete disregard for any sort of honor or etiquette of combat, as well as serious potential for mortals to grow insanely strong. Then the future Trunks arc made it apparent that the mood of the Kais and the gods towards the mortals was changing. Zamasu, A former North Kai of Universe 10 and apprentice to Gowasu was shocked at the growing power of mortals, especially Goku, whose blatant disregard for the power of the Kais and his brash nature made him feel like he had to take action. He was appalled that mortals would take the intelligence and abilities granted to them by the gods, only to go back and challenge their superiority. He saw it as evil on the part of mortals, so he took it upon himself to mercilessly wipe out mortal life. So it's not a motivation we can identify with. Zamasu isn't really justified. He's basically an elitist prick who's scared of losing his dominant position as a Kai after seeing the power of Goku, and most likely knowing the power of other mortals after the tournament, and his plan included the killing of countless innocent lives. But he didn't take up arms against mortals because he felt like it or because he has a genetic inclination to do so. He did so because he felt threatened, and he also felt like mortals only ever caused each other suffering and would eventually extend that grief to the gods. Zamasu's reaction was extreme and was considered a fringe way of thinking among the gods and Kais. I think Zamasu's extreme reaction represented the fear and paranoia of the gods towards the ever-growing mortals and in the most purest form. And regardless of what specific gods agree or not, clearly it wasn't in their best interest to directly attack and destroy everything that they themselves had built and declare war on mortals. So they felt it necessary to be rid of Zamasu, since the mortal realm is still a creation of the gods and theirs to maintain, so it would be pointless to destroy it completely. But the fact that a god took it upon himself to take such rash actions just shows how the balance of power is beginning to change and how the gods know it. Now, with the Tournament of Power still ongoing, I can only theorize as to the big picture of the arc. In my opinion, the Tournament of Power can be seen as an alternative and more subtle way of dealing with the problem, as weird as that sounds. With the knowledge that there are powerful mortals with an increasing potential to challenge the gods, Goku's reckless idea to hold a Tournament of Power could be exploited by several of the gods, in order to be rid of their most potent threat. The Grand Priests, the Angels, the Zenos, and the universes exempt from the tournament for having high enough mortal levels can gather the strongest warriors from each other universe to fight for the survival of their respective universes. And by putting the gods of destruction and Kais of every one of those universes at equal risk of erasure, it can hide a much grander ambition. The gods can be rid of their most threatening mortals, and their weakest and most incompetent gods will all be eliminated as well, leaving the gods in a vastly superior position by the tournament's end, all while making Goku a scapegoat for everyone else to blame. Now this raises the question, why would the gods allow the universes with the highest mortal levels to be excluded from the tournament? Because if what they're saying about the mortal levels is true, then they're leaving the most powerful mortals alive. But I feel like it could be possible that there's something there that the gods don't want everyone else to know. Maybe those are the universes with the least mortals, or maybe even no mortals at all. Maybe the mortals of those universes are very clearly subservient to the gods. Either way, I just have a feeling the exempt universes have something unexpected in store that will play into the overall purpose or theme of the arc. This is only a theory, but given the increasing wariness of the gods towards the mortals throughout the course of Super up to this point, erasing the mortals and culling their weaker gods under the guise of a tournament is not too far-fetched, especially after seeing Zamasu's reaction as well as the other gods' anger over Goku's disrespect of the gods' position. So I thought I would discuss some of the aspects of Super that makes it so interesting despite its seemingly simplistic nature and tame approach compared to Dragon Ball Z. Opinions on Super are varied, but I feel like it at least deserves praise for building up an overall theme from the beginning up to now, unlike in Dragon Ball Z where Toriyama made up things as he went, as we all know. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, follow me on Twitter if you like my content enough, and thank you for the continued support. Take care.